we are to talk about food security. I think we all know that in most households, what is produced as food is the responsibility of women, and the men are responsible for the cash crops. I hope I'm right. In most households, the ones that I've worked with, this is the reality. So we need to take this into account as we talk about food security. Thank you.
Chairperson, please choose the hands, because hands are too many.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Once again, my name is Jen Maromba from IRC. And my quick comment, thank you very much to the discussants. Quite a lot of knowledge and information that you've shared. My quick question goes to my sister Agnes. On your context-specific evidence, I know that you have done that, and it's being done. What is it that is not happening? Is government receiving the evidence and not using it? Is government not receiving the evidence and not using it? What is it that is missing? Because for a very long time, you have been talking about generating evidence, and you can't do advocacy without evidence. And I'll give a quick example. The Minister of Finance works very closely with the EPRC, the Economic Policy Research Center, to generate evidence. They can't do research on their own. They just don't have the time, and probably they don't even have the capacity. So EPRC is their research arm. In Ministry of Water, I know they are building capacity, the Water Resources Institute, the Appropriate Technology Center, because evidence is important. But from your point of view and the way you emphasized context-specific evidence, what is it that has not happened? And what needs to be improved so that this evidence that we are generating finds its place? Another quick one relates to documentation. I am probably one of the few people who scream about documentation. Are we documenting our work well? If we document, where do we take it? And I'm not talking about the normal reports that we produce, activity reports, evaluation reports, whatever. But documentation that shows that our inputs, our contributions are making a difference. And these are the outcomes. And if you followed this, Mr. and Mrs. Government, you would be able to achieve ABCD. Because now, normally we are also faulted around that. So I would like to also hear from you, Agnes, and probably the other discussants, how that is being handled and how we address challenges around documentation goes to the right people. I submit. Thank you.
One more. There's a student in Nepal, a lime color t-shirt.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Chairperson. I would like to ask that our parents always leave home early in the morning. Before we take up, they come back when it's late in the evening, leaving us behind home with housemates. What steps are prepared to see that even as young people learn how to prepare local food, since housemates don't care about us?
Yes, Judge. Can I have the gentleman in the court? That one.
Thank you so much, the presenters. My concern is on, we are here seriously debating on what they want us to know or what they have told us. But the question is, what is that thing that they have not told us when it comes to climate mitigation and the issues when it comes to food systems? The reality of what we are not being told, how do we define it and how do we find it? Because sometimes we may find we are being driven by what they want us to know. But the reality part of what they don't want us to know is what?
There's a lady this side. You can.
Good morning to you all. Thank you. I'm Josephine Akia Luyembazi, the country coordinator for PELAM Uganda. And I want to congratulate Jesse, our member organization, for making 30 years in transforming our livelihoods. Thank you, Agnes, for sharing your vast experience when it comes to policy landscape. And to our panelists, I really appreciate the contributions. Mine is just to add a voice onto the potential that agroecology has and what we have not yet tapped into. A lot has been said in regards to agroecology, and somebody is asking, what is it that has not been said? I would like to assure you all has been said. All you have to do is speak out what you feel you can do. Let's know your contribution, and together we'll be able to make that meaningful change. One of the participants also asked a question, what is lacking? And truth be told, Agnes and very many other people in the policy platform always talk about evidence generation. But as agroecology promoters, we are also being asked very many questions. And I'll give an example. When we're developing the National Organic Agriculture Policy, one thing that came out strongly was, where are the statistics? What is your contribution as organic agriculture promoters towards the growth of the GDP, towards export earnings, towards the overall economic development of the country? And these are the same questions that we're grappling with towards the development of the National Agroecology Strategy. We do not have evidences yet. We don't have research findings and statistics. Unless we all come into the question she asked in terms of documentation, harness all this, that's when we shall be able to answer the big question. What is the potential of agroecology into addressing the unsustainable food systems that we have? And as I sit down, I want to encourage all of us to embrace agroecology. This is the only form of farming system that embraces an ecosystem balance, a community-wide approach with interaction and complementarity from the different ecosystems. The time is now. Climate change is real. It's not going to change unless we change from doing business as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you, members. Thank you, participants. We have a secretariat here because we're seeing many hands. So what we're requesting is if you have an issue, you can write it on paper because as we are told you, we are going to generate ideas and strategies. We would want to close this session of topic number online. For inclusion, let's include that one who is virtual. So. John, are you there? John? You have to unmute your side, eh? I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. My name is John Sekajugo. I'm a lecturer at Mountains of the Moon University, the Faculty of Agriculture and Environment. But currently, I'm attending from Brussels. I'm finalizing my PhD in climate change and disaster management. I want to thank all the presenters who have really given in very good inputs. And particularly, I want to focus, I think, what the current speaker just talked about, the person from PELAM, and I think what Singh and other colleagues talked about. We are talking about climate change, we are talking about food security, but also agroecology. I think, like the person from PELAM has been talking, The missing link is generating viable business models or agroecological climate change-based business models that can really spark off private investment. Most of the evidences and most of the few demonstrations I've done have been only on small scale, and these cannot ignite large investments or private investments in climate smart or agroecological practices. So the evidence is very key, and we need to partner with different researchers and universities to really document these practices, but also demonstrate that actually one can make money through agroecological, production approaches or through climate smart best practices. That is missing. But also too, we need also to modify our financing mechanisms and approaches to include small-scale to mid-scale, practices or farmers, but also that can embrace maybe groups or partnerships or clustering of farmers, because most of these things carry money, but these small farmers, these few farmers that do these practices do not access financing. They need money, but most of the banks, most of the people that give the finances, look at these big farms, look at these big investors that most times do not embrace climate smart best practices. They have talked about the strategies. I will not, and policies, I will not repeat those ones, but maybe lastly, people have talked about the seeds and the indigenous seeds. Making progress in climate smart practices, but also food security and systems, will also depend on how quickly and best we can invest in, establishing seed banks, indigenous seed banks, but also preserve them and promote them, and work towards improving their productivity to show people that even with these local seeds, even with these indigenous species, you can be able to produce and make money out of them. I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much for your deliberations. I just wanted to also inform this House, again from Agnes's presentation, indeed there is a stalemate in terms of global discussion on agriculture. For example, at the UN FCCC, the discussion about agriculture has been evaded by the politics of the world. The Monsantos, who are the biggest producers of fertilizers, have captured that discussion at that level. They come with lobbyists to say that in the face of climate change, agriculture and food systems can only be improved if we apply synthetic fertilizers. And that's where the stalemate is. At the Conference of Parties 27 in Egypt, NGOs were pushing for sustainable food systems. But by the time we concluded the Conference of Parties, the text on sustainable food systems had been deleted from the text. So that's the argument. And now I think, like we are hearing from members here, we need data that agroecology, organic farming can feed the world. We need statistics, because going back for COP28, we are continuing to push that the text should include a discussion on sustainable food systems so that we see agroecology future as a big factor that we want to see implemented at that level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, members. So our lead discussant, please, the child had a question about food issues, so you can respond to that, and any other member who has a question that feels is burning, but otherwise we're closing this session.
Thank you. My response to my sister Jane is going to be related to the other question. And I liked that question. The person asked is that what are we not being told? That's a very contextual question. It's $1 million question. Thank you so much, the person who asked that question. What has been not told to us is that food is big business, is that climate change is big business. For us, we are seated here discussing it as a challenge. That is what we've been told, and that is how we present ourselves to negotiate it. Climate change is big business, hunger is big business, malnutrition is big business, food security is big business, population is big business. So that is what we have not been told. And how is it related to the question my sister Jane asked? Is the economics of what we are pushing forward. That is the evidence that is required, the economics. And I recall, I think I have been debating whether I should say it here, but let me say it here. In our struggles pushing back GMO, one time we were given audience by General Saleh. He wanted to hear from us. I dodged the meeting personally to protect our policy space. Yeah, you don't send all of the troops. But my colleagues went. And those who went recall that the moment he emerged into the room, he asked, "Where is Chilabo?" So it is good I had not gone. But this was one of the resolutions. General Saleh told us he's going to give us land, 4 acres. And we try what we are talking about on his 4 acres. And that he's going to give equivalent land to Naro. That is what he knew. To try what we are pushing back. And he said at the end of the season, I will come myself and evaluate. We have not gone back. Yet we are preparing. Now, John in Brussels has clearly put it before us. The business case, the economics, the politics. Let us generate that evidence. And I agree with you, Jen, when we are pushing for revitalization of extension policy, the winning fact sheet about the cost-benefit analysis of government providing extension, we did it with EPRC, and immediately the late Keith gave us money. So I agree that is the evidence that we need to, and I implore everybody in this room, let us stop talking about climate change and these issues as challenges. Let us start looking at them as opportunities, and we put forward our proposals as great opportunities, not relief, soothing and smooching. This is business, it is the monkey dance. Let us go in with our ecology, agroecology, dancing as monkeys as well. And less that, these guys are capturing every policy space. Finally, Doctor here mentioned the issue of commercialization. the concept of commercialization needs to be interrogated. And I'm happy he's saying land is becoming smaller and we need to intensify. One of the pushback we've been receiving with agroecology and organic production is that, hey, compost is bulk. Hey, the old women can't do it. Hey, how much compost do I need in hectares? We need to respond that we do not need to produce in hectares. We can produce in small parcels of land, but more than double the productivity of that land. And then secondly, put a price value to ecologically produced food. In Europe, organic food is the premium. That is what we are failing to do here. Putting a premium price to ecologically produced what? Produced food, and we make economic sense. My senior, my mentor, Mary Jo, I cannot say anything about what you've said. It is real. But the challenge is, once we had food crops and cash crops, and then the men could not walk through banana plantations. The men could not walk through potato plantations. They could not check Entula because those were food crops. And ever since they turned into cash crops, you go into banana plantations and the men have plucked sticks because they have sold those what? Those bananas already. So we agree GBV is rooted into the fight around food. In Teso, the man looks at the bag of amukeke. Amukeke is dry potatoes. They look at it as income. The women are looking at it as food security. So the woman cooks it as food, the man fights till you cooked money. The man sells it as for income, the woman fights till you sold what? You sold food. I wish to conclude by saying, when we are pushing for food sovereignty, we are also protecting the sovereignty of our governments. If a government gives away the power of its people to feed themselves, they are ushering in insecurity and they are ushering in control. So please, when we are talking to you, Doctor, food sovereignty is not only sovereignty for the people, it's also the sovereign power of our government, because he who feeds your people rules you and your people. I'm sorry, Doctor, the absence of the Pope, you crucify this catechist. So thank you, sir.
Members, for purposes of saving time, we have 2 more discussions after this. Let's conclude this session. I'm so grateful to the lead presenter and their fellow discussants. We have technology, we have online interaction. If you have a question, we have a secretary that can generate all these ideas coming from you, and will continue adding value to our summit. So members, I'm so grateful for your presentation and time. Please, can you take your seats? Our next topic is enhancing climate resilience and ecosystem services management in the Mpanga River landscape. This topic is going to be presented by the lead presenter, Dr. Mary Chalgonza. Dr. Mary Chalgonza, please take your seat. Dr. Mary Chalgonza is a lecturer at Mountains of the Moon University. She's a specialist in agroecology. She's a specialist in agroecology, and the other discussant is Dr. Brian. Is Dr. Brian around? You're most welcome. Please take your seat. And Mr. Wambale George, join for water. George, you're welcome. So as you're aware of time, the lead discussant has 10 minutes. And your colleagues have 4 minutes each. As we had agreed, Dr. Mary, you can talk through your presentation, and our secretary will be showing the sections you are at in your presentation. Members, we are grateful for your cooperation, and please bear with us in case you don't talk, but we have a medium where we're going to capture your contributions and concerns in this summit. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Protocol observed. My name is Mary Ekyaligonza. I have a PhD in agroecology, and I have a background of Masters in Natural Resources Management and a Bachelor of Science in Forestry. So today I'm going to take you through building resilience to climate change with local actions. So next is the outline of what my presentation will entail. I'm going to look at the soil for resilience, characteristics of good soil to be embedded in there, water management for resilience, resilient production systems of foods, resilient types of organic feeds, organic fertilizers, and then energy sources for resilient, dangers of and reuse of plastics, local actions for resilient health, resilient families, and then I conclude. I will be very fast. So it looks a lot, but it's not a lot. So first of all, we need to know what resilience is. Resilience is how you can bounce with a ball. You get a shock, you bounce back. You get back close to the original state in which you are in. The youth would say, "Kulemeraho in Rutoro." So that is resilience. The old people will say, "Kwehindura muhini nkendemu." So that is kwehindura muhini nkendemu. Those are the old ones in the Toro region. So that is resilience. A shock happens, but you are able to come back and then close to the original state in which you are in. Okay? So we can move to next. So, health soil is key to resilient agriculture. So how is soil made healthy? First of all, I liked the previous speakers. They were talking about compost. Compost is very important when it comes to improving our soil health. How do you know that soil is healthy? First of all, you look at, the color is also important. You look at the microorganisms within the soil, and these microorganisms are important. They turn the soils, they aerate the soils, and also help in improving the structure of the soil and make it good for production. And soil which has received a lot of floods, for example, is more of dead soil. So its resilience is very poor. So it is hard for it to go back to its original state. But soil which is already, it is easier for it to go back to original state in case it got a little shock. So maybe you can go to the next. So to build resilience on soils, we need to manage the soils very well. And another strategy is mulching. Many people undermine mulching, especially here in our region. You find people carrying away crop residues from the field, which would be used as mulch. Others burn the crop residues, and these are the crop residues which would be used as mulch and also improve the organic matter into the soil and the nutrients which are therein. Another simple strategy is crop rotation. You find people growing the same crop season after season, but this is not a good strategy to improve resilience into the farm. So a rotation system which is diversified with a variety of crops spatially and also in a temporal space is very good because it can reduce soil-borne diseases, and also the crops themselves, you find them supporting each other in terms of nutrients. Because others are heavy feeders, others have deep roots, can absorb nutrients from the lower layers and making them available to other crops. Then another strategy which can be used in building resilience in nutrient recycling. Nutrient recycling is in many ways, agroforestry is key, where we integrate trees on farms. When we are integrating trees, we are encouraged to come up to use especially the leguminous trees, because these legumes are known for fixing nitrogen. The tree roots, when they go down there, they absorb the rich nutrients and make them available to crops. And also, the leaves that fall from the trees decompose, providing organic matter, other uses. For people with EcoSan toilets, I know this is a technology that's just promoted in many areas, especially the landing sites of Mashoro and other areas with collapsing soils. So this, if you have the EcoSan toilets, please, these products are gold. Of course, people have issues. Some may not eat the vegetables which are grown from nutrients from the EcoSan toilets. But we encourage these people to use such fecal material into maybe growing pastures. And when pastures are fed on by livestock, the livestock give us manure, which we can put into our fields. Then there are other livestock which are ignored. For example, the rabbits. These provide very nice nutrients. The manure from the rabbits contain a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus. These are good, improve crop productivity. Then another strategy which is resilient is water harvesting and storage. You know, we have 2 rainy seasons and also 2 dry seasons, especially here in the Rwenzori. So during the rainy season, we will always have a lot of water. And during the dry season, the place is dry, and women start walking long distances, fetching water, looking for water. So if we can harvest this water, it can be used during the dry season. Leave alone using the water for irrigation and also domestic use. This water, if it's not harvested, especially in areas where there are many homesteads with many roofs, you will find this water eroding the soil, and we are going back to the poor soil, which is not resilient to absorbing the shock. Then another strategy is wetland conservation, because we know that wetlands are a source of water, and if not protected, they will dry and we shall not get water. So wetland protection is very important by keeping the banks protected, and also if they are not protected, at least planting some of the vegetation which can protect these river banks. Maybe we can move to the next. Sir, please. Then other strategies include mulching, as I've talked about. Apart from improving the soil health, mulching also conserves the water into the soil and make it available to the crops even during the dry season. So for farmers who are so interested into perennial crops, you can testify if the soil is mulched, it will take some good time for the crops to dry compared to those which are not mulched. Then another strategy is using irrigation technologies, and actually I would emphasize careful irrigation. When I talk about careful irrigation, I mean you need to test the water which you are going to use for irrigation. Otherwise, you will apply some salts into your fields and you'll end up scorching your crops. Then also you need to know the amount of water that your crops need. So another strategy is on energy. So you know we have a challenge of, most of the households here in especially Rwenzori use firewood for fuel. And firewood has its own disadvantages. It has its problems. First of all, the smoke is a lot when you are cooking. Then women have to suffer, walking very long distances in search of firewood and also carrying the firewood. Then also where they get the firewood, the place is left degraded. And we have a problem of carbon dioxide influx, because we know trees are very important in absorbing the carbon dioxide. So strategies that can be used to conserve energy, we have biogas, it provides clean energy. Then we have the solar systems, solar technologies, which we can use for lighting and also cooking. Then we can also use solar dryers for the farmers who have challenges with drying. So if you went to Kabundaire, for example, during the season, you'll find a lot of bananas, a lot of cassava, and we have a lot of food waste because people don't process their food. So if we can promote such technologies like solar dryers, you'll find continuous production even during the time when the foods are not under production. Then we have energy saving stoves. Then if you are to use firewood, it's always good to plant trees on your farm and then use the branches. Cut the branches and use them for firewood, and the other biomass, use it as mulch onto the farm. So next. So I bring to your attention these two, maybe you can also put the next picture, these two farming systems. There is a monocrop system and also an integrated system. Which one do you think is better in terms of food security and also income? Of course, the monocrop, many people will go for cocoa because we know people from Bundubuja are very rich because they grow cocoa. But how about the times of no production? How are they surviving? They will have to sell the cocoa, buy the food. And at the end of it all, you find they are not healthy. Even the nutrition is not there. But a farmer who has integrated a variety of enterprises on the farm, maybe the fish, the animals, the crops, you'll find they have all the nutrition and also the food on the field, and also income when they sell. It may be little, but it may be something good. Maybe next. Then balanced diet is very key to a family. We know that we have to balance the foods which we eat. Most people will run for bread. Most people will want to buy cereals from supermarkets, but we have our own foods which we can produce even without using any fertilizers. For example, for breakfast, I might want to use, a good family would use sweet potatoes. Like at home, me, I eat sweet potatoes and yams for my breakfast. That is better, much better than the refined products which we buy from supermarkets. Then we have, if we want vegetables, we have our enswiga. This is very common and it's everywhere. And surprisingly, someone will go and clear a field full of enswiga and plant cabbage. And when you go for a party and you are lining up for a party, you'll find someone pushing someone to go and pick enswiga which he cleared and leaving the cabbage which he planted. So I don't know. It's about our mindset and what we want. So these are very precious foods which we don't eat, and yet they are very important for our health. Maybe we can go to the next. Then when we go to the feeds, we have a variety of feeds which we can promote. When we talk of resilient feeds, we mean feeds which grow very fast and which are so nutritious to the livestock. An example is the Guatemala grass and mulberry. These contain some nutrients which animals can feed on. And if we are the people who are encouraging nutrient recycling, the nutrients which the animals feed, you will end up getting them through the dung and incorporated into the fields as farmyard manure. Then we also have another technology, vermiculture, where we use some insects, like the black soldier fly, to feed the livestock. For example, the chicken, you can see how happy the chicken are feeding on the black soldier flies. And these ones grow very fast, giving you the alternative proteins onto your farm. Then organic pesticide use, it is very key. Many people will be there wondering, how do we grow crops without pesticides? You can also create your own concoction using locally available material. For example, the phytolacca, umhoko. I hear women use it for abortion, but it's very dangerous. The way how it's dangerous on human beings, it is also dangerous on the pests. Then, yes. For this one, you make a concoction. You mix all those, and then you make a concoction. Then there is mukazimurofu. Marigold is also very important among the things you can include in the concoction. Chili, neem, tomato leaves, onion, wood ash, all these are important, low available inputs which we can use in making the pesticides. Then plastics. This is a very big problem which we have here in the Rwenzori and elsewhere. You find a place full of plastics. If you went to the river Mpanga, you will find a lot of plastics. Why don't we take an opportunity, like how the previous speaker mentioned? Why don't we use use these plastics in making something which we can sell, especially the youth, this can be a good business. So the picture there, this is a flower pot made out of plastics. So we can take advantage of such, and then we recycle and then get some income out of it instead of leaving the plastics to degrade our ecosystems. Then some people do burning of plastics. It is very dangerous. You look at the smoke. So when you breathe such smoke, it's a lot of toxins which you breathe in, and you'll end up with severe allergies and other related diseases. So maybe you can move to the next. Then, okay, now how do we build the resilience for our health? So these are some of the behaviors we need to take up. We should stop settling in floodplains. Normally when you ask someone to get for you land, they will say, we have very cheap land. When you reach there, you find it is a wetland. So we should be able to refuse buying such kind of lands. If you can, why do you buy land in a wetland? Then avoid landslides, prone areas for construction, among others, as you have seen. Then to the local leaders, there are a number of strategies which we encourage them to do. Promote environmentally friendly income generating activities. Some people, we know they settle in wetlands because of poverty. They go and cultivate there because they want to derive income. They sell all the wetland vegetation and also the trees to get income. So that is how we can do it. Then we also need to support women because they are the center. They are the ones who suffer most. They are the ones who are affected by climate change. So we have to support them in several ways so that we can build the resilience into the ecosystem. So I end up by just echoing on different strategies for building resilience, not resistance, where we have the mixed cropping system, the enterprise diversification so that you spread the risk. You don't rely on one thing, the networks. To the farmers, because they have challenges with selling their products, why don't they collect their products and sell together? Then closed system through generating their own incomes. This is what I've been talking about, feeding the livestock giving you farmyard manure, so the cycle is closed. So appropriate technologies, then skilling, mentality, good entrepreneurship skills, and well-managed ecosystem, among others. So I thank you so much, and I congratulate Jesse upon achieving the 30 years in service.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mary Chaligonza. Let's now hear our colleague discussants. Let's start with Dr. Brian. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Mary, for that elaborate presentation on improving resilience within an ecosystem. It touches to the soul of what the ministry is doing. And as we do acknowledge our colleagues that we are living in a very dynamic environment that is changing day in, day out. So what we need to do is to adapt and increase the resilience and enhance resilience towards some of these changes. And Dr. Mary mentioned, of course, on some of these critical issues like soil management, riverbank protection, and all this fits into the novel approach the ministry is spearheading. That is the catchment-based water resources management at the heart of improving and enhancing resilience of the communities. Going to this, of course, the ministry has developed a number of guidelines. That is the catchment that clearly highlights some of these bottleneck challenges on how we can enhance resilience within our given ecosystem. And more specific, of course, she clearly mentions the ecosystem, which is very critical, and trying to bring light how an ecosystem relates to a cat. Is more of an interaction between the biological and physical attributes within a given domain. And this falls directly into a catchment, because the catchment deals with the whole landscape, how the landscape can be rejuvenated to have some of the ecosystem functions perform rightly. And if I'm to throw in actually some bit more of light onto some of these critical functions, like for an ecosystem, one is to have water that is purified, to have oxygen, and also to promote some of these agroforestry functions that Dr. Mary has actually been alluding to. And all this fits rightly into the catchment management model that the ministry is championing and piloting, so that we ensure that water of adequate quality and quantity is present for the current and the generations thereafter us. And from her concluding statements, of course, having a shared vision within a given ecosystem, this is very critical. Having everyone on board, aligning to what your school of thought says. I think it's very critical having everyone within a given catchment, and of course projecting, envisioning something better, but also to improve on the income. She actually mentioned something very, very, very critical, which is improved household income. As you know, that it is, you cannot stop a poor person from degrading the catchment. And improving and enhancing resilience through improved household income is very critical in combating some of these challenges a given catchment faces. So she actually points out very pertinent issues that align well with the catchment planning that the ministry is actually championing. And all these, there is, of course, behind a strong policy and legal framework. As government, of course, we have the Constitution for 1995, the National Water Policy 1999, and all the other policy documents. So all these are in line, of course, with the policy documents that have been developed, and we envision, of course, a much more better catchment that can serve its functions. That is improved water quality, improved water quantity, but yet still trying to ensure that the communities within a given catchment are resilient and can adapt to the impacts of climate change. So that is my take from Dr. Mary's presentation, and I feel it's actually very pertinent and aligns to what the ministry is actually doing. Thank you.
Okay. Call George Bwambale. So what I can add on the presentations of my colleagues is that I want to affirm my statement, which yesterday I posted on my WhatsApp, that climate change is man-made, and solutions to climate change are also man-made. Yeah, because if you see from the presentation of Dr. Mary, of course she was giving most of the local solutions, and most of these is that we as human beings can be able to do them. But I want to comment on some of the few things that she was highlighting, especially on the soil. What is it that within this catchment that we are feeding the soil? I remember in a certain workshop where also area participated, was presenting on the issue of nowadays is that people no longer do the weeding. So what they do, they plant the crops, they put a pesticide, and you find that these crops, until harvest, you will not see the weeds. So what is it that we are feeding the soil? Yeah. The other day, my neighbor, what she did, after harvesting of the previous season, so what she did was not digging, but she went on and planting new beans. Yeah. By now, she's harvesting. For me, my beans have refused. So meaning that as people, we have to ensure that what we feed to the soil is also, it will affect what we harvest, all right? And then the other issue is on resilient production systems of food. Many people have talked about it, but I would like to emphasize, she presented something to do with fish, cattle, ducks, rabbits, and all the rest. Because if we do this, so when a catastrophe hits, maybe when you lose your chicken, you can be able to get food, or you can be able to sell maybe a cow or a goat, something like that. And for this, within the catchment, IDP is promoting this approach. At least at household, you should be having a chicken, you should be having a goat, you should be having a duck, you should be having a rabbit, so that when there are issues of climate change, when they hit, if the beans don't do well, at least you will have a chicken and you will have an egg to feed on. Either you can sell a goat and buy maybe food crops, you see? So the other thing is on resilient types of organic feeds. Of course, she presented a lot on this, and normally I would like to use examples in my daily life. The other day we went to the hotel with my coordinator, and then he was like, what do you have on the menu? And then we were like, we have beans, we have goat, we have chicken, and he stood up and said, are you having that chicken of 3 weeks? Is it the one of 2 weeks? You see, something like that. And for nowadays, most of the chickens that we have, they are those ones of 3 weeks, 1 month, something like that. And what is it that we are feeding to our bodies? Yeah, when it comes to local actions for resilient health. Yeah, nowadays someone gets a headache, gets maybe some disease, and you find that it is chronic. Yeah, but then this is due to what we are feeding on. Yeah, so we have to be very, very cautious on what we eat or what we feed some of the mammals that we have at household level. She talked of the EcoSan toilet. It's good to feed the soils. And then when it comes to energy sources of resilience, of course here our partners, Chaninga Forest Foundation, are promoting briquettes, and these briquettes are made from lantana camara. Most of you know it as kapanga. And this plant, or invasive plant, is affecting most of this catchment, especially in Kamwenge, where the environment is hot, yeah, and it can spread so much, even those sides of Harugongo. So our partners, Chaninga, are promoting energy charcoal, yeah, from this lantana camara. Even others are promoting briquettes from the banana husks, yeah, all those ones. So for this, we can try to reduce on the effects of cutting down trees for charcoal. Yeah, you will bear with me that the charcoal we use here in town, most of it comes from the rural areas, comes from the mountains, comes from the forest. So as people living here in Fort Portal town, we should ensure that we use eco-friendly charcoals, maybe from these briquettes that people are making. So I would like to make some few statements, maybe on both of my colleagues, is that to increase resilience, we have to ensure that we build the capacity of extension services and institutions at local catchment water management zone, even at national level, to better support these stakeholders so that they can ensure that the use of natural resources is used sustainably for a longer time so that even the future generation can benefit from them. Yeah? So And maybe lastly is that when it comes to resilience, of course, as people, we have to be sure that we have to make sure that we have the knowledge of what is happening, be mindful of the issues, the events that are happening, but also have self-care of what also is happening, and also having positive relationship, of course, with the environment, even with our fellow people. Yeah? And then also always be positive in everything we do. So I'll end by saying that to perform, to improve resilience at local level, we have to perform acts of kindness, voluntary mentoring, but also even expressing gratitude to those maybe who are affected. Thank you so much.
Dear participants who are coming to the close of the discussion of this topic, Dr. Mary, Dr. Brian, George, we are so grateful for your time and the presentations you have managed to share with us. Many insightful things are coming from your presentations. Members, we are running short of time. As we told you, we have a platform where we can exchange. And the conveners are time bad now, it's time for a quick break. George is going to make more announcements from the Secretariat. So I was requesting that we can utilize the platform for engagements, and then we go for the break time. Thanks so much for your participation and contributions. George, to you.
Participants, thank you so much for your patience. Two more things before we go for breakfast. I will ask our program manager, Oxfam, to make a few comments and remarks. Then we have one more request from Toro Baby's Home, and these ones we're going to do them in the next 5 minutes only. Jackson, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity once again. Like I introduced myself yesterday, I'm the Climate Justice Coordinator at Oxfam, but also standing in for the country director who was supposed to be here in person, but because he has other engagements in West Nile, he couldn't make it. We continue to be partners with JESE because we are just concluding the implementation of a project in Chaka and Sinchiro, which we have done very well. And we think that we should document this very well so that it can support us in looking for resources to scale up the interventions on risk management and restoration, because we think this is the way to go. So he wanted me to say something little about Oxfam. Quickly, we are an international organization operating in so many countries in the world. But importantly to say that we have been in Uganda for the last over 40 years, implementing programs for eliminating poverty and inequality. And our vision still stands for the next 10 years. We are fighting poverty and inequality. And we take climate change as one of the drivers of poverty and the inequality that we are talking about. And so in terms of programming, we have about 4 sectors that we think will help us to fight the inequality. One of the sectors that we're working in is the humanitarian sector, which is one of the largest sectors of our work, working to respond to emergencies that are caused by the political situations that are happening in the region. So we respond to refugee needs, and specifically in the area of water, sanitation, and hygiene. And so JESE becomes a very competent partner that we can continue working with in those areas. So let's look at that opportunity and see how we tap into it. We do support livelihoods, again for refugees and host communities. We don't supply food like others do. For us, we engage refugees and host communities into farming systems that can help them get the food that they want to eat. And so that's another area that we work on. We are also working in the area of the seed system, again, Jen talked about the seed. This is what we are doing again. FRI is our partner that we are working with in terms of strengthening the food system situation in Uganda. So again, looking at the situation of refugees and host communities, how do we engage with them in strengthening the food system? That's an area that we are interested in. Gender and protection are areas of our interest, ensuring women economic empowerment, ensuring women participation in leadership. Those are areas that we take strongly. Actually, in Oxfam, we say women's rights is at the heart of what we do. If you're not gender sensitive, you are not in the right place at Oxfam. We work with women, work with young people, the youth, ensuring that we improve their livelihoods. The other component that we do that we think will help us eliminate inequality and poverty is the accountability component, governance and accountability. It would be governance of natural resources. It would be the governance that we are talking about in, political governance. We think that if the governance systems of the country are not well managed, they can actually put people into poverty and push them into a lot of inequalities, which will be hard to be fought. And so we work on governance and accountability, ensuring that government programs are accountable to citizens of Uganda. For example, issues of climate financing, we track climate finances that are coming to the country and ensuring that those climate finances reach down to the people. So we work with partners. We don't do direct implementation. We work with the partners because we think that local partners know the challenges of the citizens of the country, and they can best approach those problems and provide solutions to those problems. And so our mode of operation is a localized kind of agenda where we think local partners offer sustainable solutions in terms of eliminating poverty, but also eliminating inequalities. And so our current program is running for the next 10 years, starting last year. I think we have gone into it about 2 years, so we still have 8 years to go. And we are happy to be partners with joint effort to save the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One more item. I will request Dr. Mary, Brian, George, please take your seats. I wish to recognize our partners here. When we started, they had not arrived, some arrived late, but we want to recognize the presence of all our partners, BD, PELAM, SMAVI, Joint for Water, Ministry of Water and Environment, local government. We have chairpersons from Kamwenge and Isinjiro and other heads of department from other districts, Bulisa, Bunyangabo. We want to recognize our partners, MMU, our other civil society organization members, KRC, and others, the banks that support us and those who handle our money and keep our monies. WHH, I've seen them coming in. Weltunga Hilfe, we also recognize your presence. And we want to appreciate the support and guidance from all our board members, from the very beginning to the current. Once a board member, you're always a board member. You are board members. Once our bosses, always our bosses. Our Reverend from the diocese, we also recognize your attendance and we appreciate. I request somebody from Toro Babies Home and our own SEMA to come and stand in front here and for 2 minutes make that request, and then we go for break. We are sorry we started a little late, and we are sorry to make you sit longer than this, but Toro Babies Home and SEMA, please come around. A small and focused appeal.
Good morning. called Enebiona Monica. I'm the matron Toro Babies Home. First of all, I congratulate Jesse for making this achievement and the good service. I'll briefly talk about the status of Toro Babies Home at the moment. We have 50 children. Out of the 50 children, 25, they are going to school. Out of the 21 who are going to school, 3 are disabled. They go to Canonia Polo boarding. Though they are disabled, they do handcraft. This month, beginning with this month and last month, we have received 11 children. This means that the rate at which children are being abandoned is very high, and also the mother are dying in the villages there. Out of these 11 children we have received, we have like 5 of them who have lost their mothers at birth, and those 5, they are 1 month below. Others are 2 days, others are 1 week, and surely it is very expensive to take care of these children. We have 27 boys and 23 girls. Among the very many needs we have as Toro Babies Home, one of them is the energy saving stove. At the moment, the one we have, it consumes a lot of fire, which is a threat to the environment. At the same time, it is not saving. So we use a lot of money to buy firewood. So we would request if there is someone or anyone who can support us with energy saving stove, so that we can also contribute on environment protection. We also have a problem of dry food and fresh food for these children. You can imagine taking care of 50 children, where we have the ones who are disabled, we have to pay for fees, we have to clear hospital bills, electricity and water and all that. So, in summary, I call upon everyone, I call upon all organizations, politicians, everyone who knows about Toro Babies Home to come and support. I can't forget to thank Jesse. They have come up to help us in doing fundraising for these children. I hope all of you will join them to come and support these children. We really need your help so that we can help these children get support. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Monica. My name is Salome Sim. I work with Jesse. I don't work with Toro Babies Home, but I'm a mere supporter. I'm here to appeal to you members. Among the list of activities we have undertaken as Jesse, as we mark this milestone of 30 years, was the Do Good activity. And in this activity, we identified Toro Babies Home, and we are soliciting support for Toro Babies Home. She has already outlined what they are doing and what the challenges are. In fact, when she was talking about the issue of feeding, my mind went back to the discussion of this morning. I don't know how food secure they are. I don't know what quality of food they are taking. But that one is a topic for another day. Today we are looking for money to construct an energy saving stove so that they can be able to save on energy expenses. As you have already listened to our presenter this morning, the chair, he notified us that the magazines we have here, we are selling these magazines and the proceeds. Yeah, we are bringing these magazines to everybody. Please support us so that the proceeds from these magazines can go to support Toro Babies Home. But apart from that, we are calling upon each and every person, if you feel convicted to give us support, to use this opportunity to support these people. It is a genuine cause, it is a noble cause, and we are all called upon to do good. I thank you. So at this moment, I'm here to reach out to anyone who is willing to give us support. If you have cash, we can record it. If you want to pledge, we can record the pledge and follow up those pledges and ensure they reach to Toro Babies Home. I thank you. So where can I come first? Thank you so much.
I request that you raise your hand. We give you a magazine for 25,000 shillings. Thank you so much. This one now, it's time. I'm requesting that we go for breakfast, but in the interest of time, we shall come table by table, bringing the magazines. I think if I do it now, it may take another 30 minutes. Let me request you to go for breakfast. And then, yes, let's allow that burning issue for contribution. But I will personally bring the magazines to every individual so that we support Toro Babies Home.
I'm called Mr. Mangusha Kadam. 20 years ago, when I came from Kampala as a professional public relations and a marketeer, my point of call was to do promotion of Babies Home. It was your first financier. So when I clocked 50 years ago, I acquired land for environmental conservation and promotion of business. I put there a bicycle tournament, but it rained heavily. So I had said all the proceeds which come out of that, I had planned somewhere 50 years. So now I'm saying, I have a brand new sports bike. I was planning to hold a bicycle tournament. People come and they do that. And I was looking for an organization which I can help. Because, let me talk. My son, who was raised by a woman, she died 30 years ago. And 30 years, she left me when I was 20. I have controlled what I can control. So as I celebrate 30 years of her living in this world, I have acquired many things. And I'm going to organize a Thanksgiving at my place where there is conservation like Tokoli. I want to talk with you. Come with me. I'm going to put in money with my brand new bike. I will go fundraising. I will finance what I can. You will call your partners and they will do business. And I want to give money which is sustainable because I have an organization of charity bikers. You are going to be my first beneficiary. Thank you.
Our board member, Katuram, has bought a magazine. Singh has also bought one. So we request you that you buy on your way to breakfast. We also want to say there's an exhibition where you are going to see whatever we've been, where we have been, we are displaying technologies that we're implementing. Please also, during your breakfast, have time and walk by. We are returning here in 30 minutes, exactly 30 minutes time. Thank you so much.